Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all, those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com, or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100, 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. And a big welcome in to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. Everybody watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, and WOW Cable TV affiliates. Thanks for joining us in select markets, Hotel TV, as well as everybody's streaming on Chicago Food Favorites. Now listen, folks, it's a fun group, and we stream this show on Chicago Food Favorites because we can. I'm the administrator for it. Lots of fun, lots of great restaurants, lots of great recipes, and guess what? You can participate if you're at any one of the four corners of the world, for all you flat earthers out there. All right, folks, we are going to shift over into baseball, and we're going to talk with our baseball expert and analyst and World Series champion, 20-odd years in the league. This guy's done it all, hit in front of Hank Aaron for a bunch of years, 414 home runs, 2,223 hits, 1,354 runs batted in. The great Darrell Evans. Hey, Darrell, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Oh, this is such a pleasure. So fun, man. Everything's going so good right now. Isn't it exciting? And I get to remember all those. It was a while ago, but I remember all those great memories and stuff, and all the great people that I know and got to know, and we get to share that again. And everybody's excited about it. So I'm doing fantastic.
Hey, that's great stuff. And of course, Darrell always gets a round of applause. Yes. So, hey, listen, 414 home runs, man, that's a lot of bombs without a juice baseball. Tell me, how many of those home runs do you actually really, truly remember?
I wish I remembered more, actually, and it's great because I can maybe go on YouTube or whatever and catch some of them, but not many of them. Because back when I was playing, they were being shown, but not like they are now, and not all those kind of things are available or anything. But I get to go back and think about the having that kind of production and how many great places that was. I got to hit third in front of Hank Aaron and third in front of Willie McCovey, and I played on so many great teams, but so many against the best players of all time, some of them, and I feel like I played in the greatest era and everything else like that. And then I got to do some things nobody else had done. It was like I didn't know when I went play 15 years in the National League. I go over to the American League, and it's the second year. The first year I get to be in the World Series and win the World Series. Wow, what a thrill! Something I never really was planning on. After 15 years, you're like going, oh man, how many? We're going to get a chance to do that, and then it happened. And then, the next year I had 40 home runs, and I was the first guy that had 40 in both leagues. And so stuff like that happened. So I remember some of those home runs, but you know what? I guess maybe looking back, the key was to not take those and go, well, that'll never happen again. It was like, yeah, why? I just did it one. I could do this again. And I learned from, when I first came in the league. That's what everybody told me. Hank Aaron and Eddie Matthews and those guys go, hey, you got to be dangerous. Yeah, you can hit and all that kind of stuff. We don't care. You got to stand in that batter's box, own that batter's box, and be dangerous. So I know I got kidded a little bit about sometimes and going, man, just try to hit home runs all the time. It's like, oh, you figured that out. No kidding. Well, if you don't try
right.
to do it, how in the heck can you do it? So I had so many wonderful times when it happened,
But geez, you hit in front of Hank for what, 5 years?
It was like it was a perpetuating thing for me, because it was like, yeah, you know what? When I'm standing in that on-deck circle, man, you're in trouble. Because if you make a mistake, I got a chance of driving myself in, and I'm in scoring position when I get in home plate. So that was a motivating force. And then, you get up to the stratosphere numbers and compared with some other people, and then, it's like, okay, that's your job. That's what they expect out of you. So that was a great motivating thing. And now I'm in a new place. When I went to the Tigers, I'm in a new place. I'm in a new league. I got to learn the pitchers, and they got to learn me. And that was the big thing. Looking back, and that was because I was not told or required to do it, but that was what those guys, the greatest, Hank and Eddie and everybody else, it's what we expect out of you. So I was just trying to do what they wanted me to do. And, I kid sometimes, go, yeah, I close my eyes, swung as hard as I can, and it works sometimes. So it was all about direction. I hit a lot of balls just foul and all that kind of stuff, but nobody ever went, you got to straighten that out. No, that didn't happen at all. So, great to remember those memories of how you were going through it and what you were doing, and trying to make sure that the other side didn't see that you weren't swinging good at the time. You didn't feel like it. That's something I'm really proud of, is that they still knew I was dangerous. And when you're in a slump, man, you're gonna come out of it eventually if you keep doing it and make a pay. So now I can look back and enjoy so many of those things and pinch myself and go, yeah, I can't believe, I never thought about doing that. I never felt like that was so important. But until they gave me the responsibility, I went, hey, this is what we expect out of you. So I cherish every one of them. It'd be fun if I could go back and see them all, but there's a few of them that it doesn't matter. I did it when it counted, and so I can enjoy that every single day now.
Well, what I find interesting is that, of course, coming up with the Braves, you hit in front of Hank for 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah.
So thereabouts, yeah. But what I'm after here is you coming up in 1969, but then you won the home run leader in 1985. I mean, that's a lot of longevity, and you got your way there in the American League. But I mean, you're talking 16 years from day one to 1985, whatever is the home run leader. I mean, that is one hell of a lot of longevity.
Well, you know what? It's hard to not hard to explain. It's just that I didn't look at it, especially when I got involved in after 2 or 3 years, and then you're feeling confident, and you're going, yeah, I belong here, and this is okay. This is now I can get better, and I can do more and more things, and so that kind of fed on itself. In that to push out I never understood this. Is that people were going, okay, well, the guy just had whatever, and then the next year it's off season and he's going to fall apart. And once you get playing for a long time, it's like, wow, and he's 30 years old. Well, he's going to have to fall off. Everybody else did. Well, I never bought into that, because I never looked at that. My age or whatever was if I could keep myself going in the right shape, I always wanted to learn something better. I always wanted to do something better. So that motivating force was never, as long as I looked okay. We talked earlier about that, and I found out how to keep myself in shape, and everybody was scrutinizing. He's older. Oh yeah, look at he's gaining weight. He's doing this. He's slowing down. But you know what? I had the greatest guy in front of me when I first came up, Hank Aaron, who at 39 years old, he had 40 home runs. He was 40. He was still doing it. So I didn't have any negative. I had a positive thing of, you know what? Okay, I'm not Hank Aaron, but maybe I could keep up with that as long as he did or anybody else. And so I never let those negative things of going, yeah, maybe you're right. I can't do what I used to do, because I never felt that. Even people ask me and go, well, when did you retire and all that stuff? And I go, I never retired. They just didn't give me a uniform and when I was 44 years old. And I still, to this day, it's not about my home runs. It was about my leadership and being around for a long time. And I got to be like those guys that taught me. I got to pass that along to everybody.
Yeah.
And one thing they always would, it's like, hey, man, you got to be out to be an example. And
Darrell, you played in an era where people stuck around. They didn't complain too much about this, that, and the other. When we come back from break, we're going to pick up on that and carry on. And I got to tell you, folks, this is a real treat. Having our baseball analyst on right here on the Sports Circus, the great Darrell Evans, 414 home runs, a lot of great moments, 20-odd years in Major League Baseball, and guess what? He's one hell of a guy. Back here in a few minutes with Darrell. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes, are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call
714-948-0100, 714-948-0100, again, 714-948-0100.
or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. And don't forget to support their fantastic baseball program. All right. Nice round of applause for them. Yes! All right, welcome in everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500, KHKA, that's home of the New York Yankees, San Francisco 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome in everybody else up and down the West Coast and throughout the Heartline, all the way down to Auburn, Alabama, WAUD, from Montgomery, Alabama, all the way over to Columbus, Georgia. Speaking of Georgia, that's home of the Atlanta Braves, by the way. Of course, a nice round of applause for them. We have one of their greats with us. And also, a big hello to our friends over in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM, plus everybody else watching on television, everybody streaming on Pick Your Favorite Streamer, and of course, Chicago Food Favorites, can't forget them, over on Facebook. Check it out, folks. All right, back here with the great Darrell Evans. And as I was talking with Darrell in between segments, as a former pitcher myself, I didn't have but a coffee, I'm not even a coffee drinker, but a proverbial cup of coffee playing with some of the greats. But there were certain players or certain position players that me personally, I did not want to face. And Darrell, as a third baseman, I never wanted to face, at least didn't want to face the guys with anybody on base or in scoring position, because the third baseman, they always had quick hands. They're always strong guys. There's always, they're getting beat up with the baseball, just like the catcher. I never really wanted to face a third baseman and then the catcher, because these guys would stay in there. If you'd bust them inside, go ahead, hit me, I don't care. And then they'd probably come after you with the baseball bat or worse, right? Just their fists ready to punch you in the nose. But there are certain guys that you can feel, okay, I don't want to face these guys. And Darrell was one of those guys. And Darrell's catcher when he was with Detroit, Lance Parrish, one of the greats that did not get all the great accolades that he should have. But these are guys that, frankly, I just would never have wanted to face. And Darrell, when you look at pitchers, you can see pitchers with their level of discomfort when they're up on the hill. What were you looking for?
Oh, no question. That's what I had. I didn't know that when I didn't feel that when I first came up necessarily.
Right.
Although even in the minor leagues, you could tell that, which one, it's about body language. And you realize that, they're not on all the time, just like you're not on all the time. So it's part of part of our resume playing third base. And that's why I loved it, because you're expected to hit, and with power, and you're going to hit in the middle of the lineup. But they also trust you as being, defensively, because nobody wants to play over there. Nobody wants to stand 90 feet from the hitter and have him pound balls down on you, and all that kind of stuff. So it's that mindset. I wanted the biggest challenge, I guess. Looking back at that, I guess that was it. And I loved it so much. And it was like, and then, you're out there trying to make a play and all that kind of stuff. You get balls hit off your chest and everything else. But, man, 4 times a game you get to go out and take it out on the pitcher. And, that was learning from those guys. Hank and Eddie, of course. I mean, just talking about not just them, but they're two of the best players of all time, and they were like, hey, they didn't put, they expected that out of me. And it was like, oh man, if they expect that out of me, okay, let me see if I can try and do this. And the more you do it, the more confidence you get. And I realize and go, you know what? They're much more scared of me than I am of them.
Yeah. Darrell, what I look at with this is, first of all, oh, by the way, folks, in case you don't know, we're here with our baseball analyst, and I got to tell you, this guy is one of those that certainly should be getting some Hall of Fame votes, and I don't know why. He's on the San Francisco Giants Wall of Fame, won a World Series, couple of All-Stars, and what was impressive about that, I'm going to digress for a minute, Darrell was an All-Star in 1973 with the Atlanta Braves, and then 10 years later, he was an All-Star again. I mean, that's pretty cool. And then win a World Series after that All-Star appearance in 83 and 84, leads the league as the oldest guy at age 38 to become the oldest player in history to accomplish that feat of leading Major League Baseball at the age of 38. That's pretty damn impressive. Of course, that always deserves a nice round of applause. And of course, we have the Kung Fu applause, and eventually it'll show up. The Kung Fu movies, like there it goes. Yeah, listen, folks, it's live. Anything could happen. But all of that stuff said, I mean, there's a lot of longevity, but when you're standing at the hot corner getting beat up and beat up and beat up, I don't ever recall seeing a third baseman as a leadoff hitter or the 8 or 9 hole hitter, depending on what league you're in back then, if you know what I mean.
Well, there was a few, Wade Boggs comes to mind.
Well, yeah, but he was a base hits guy, yeah.
Well, yeah, but like I said, he was. I mean, I guess he was. You could look at him as a prototypical third baseman. Yeah. But a little bit, but more was expected, I guess, in the power department. So when you could do both, and when you're dangerous, you get put in the middle of the lineup. I mean, that's what they expect you to be. They don't put you at third base and then go, okay, you're going to hit 8th or 9th. No, that's not the case at all. Because one of the part of your resume is, hey, you're supposed to be good on both sides, and you're going to be one of those people that protects the other guy. I look back and I go, I get to hit third in front of Hank. So in a lineup, it was like, and I led the league in walks almost every year. So I had to learn how to do that. And my goal every single time was, I'm going to hit a home run or I'm going to get on base for Hank. And, that was, and they kept putting me third in the lineup. They could, lineup card every time. And so I after a while, I was like, yeah, okay, how do I do this? So, I got to the point of going, stood right on top of the plate and dared them to throw me fastballs, and, it worked pretty good, and it got better and better and better, and so your confidence goes up, and you're doing things right, and then, you get a reward to be on the All-Star team. I led the league in home runs, led baseball in home runs in '85, didn't make the All-Star team. So, there's other times when it was like, okay, yeah, maybe you should be, but that wasn't the motivating factor. The motivating factor was, you know what, they're going to give me a uniform again after 4 months off, and they're going to give me a uniform and put me in the same spot, and that was part of my job. So it's like, well, how long is this going to last? I don't know. I wasn't questioning. I had more experience. I felt good, and like I said, more confident about how to go about it. And so the other stats besides the RBIs and the runs scored, that's to me the most important offensive stats anyway, no matter how you do it. And I was, I was capable of doing that kind of stuff. And once in a while, I'd drive myself in, and that put fear in the pitchers. Some of them will say, "No, yes, it did." Because it worked. Well, and, it's like there's some pitchers I didn't have very good success, maybe not as much success against, the Hall of Fame pitchers and those kind of guys, but some of them I did too. But then you look back and go, well, okay, nobody else did either. So you're trying to do what's expected of you. And every time you get in that dugout and people, pat you on the back or give you high fives or come start asking you, hey, how you doing, that kind of stuff. So that just kept, that kept perpetuating all kinds of great stuff. And then it was like, it's amazing. How old you are and you're doing all that kind of stuff. And I'm like going, well, yeah, what difference does that make? I watched this guy. I watched the best player of all time do it over and over again every year. And I asked him and talked to him, and he was very open about, what was going on. He said the same thing. So what? I'm not slowing down. I'm not getting worse. I'm not doing anything. It might look like, okay, I can't run as fast or I can't throw it. But you know what? That had nothing to do with being in the batter's box and being intimidating to the pitcher. Yeah,
I mean, what I find interesting is that hitting third, folks, in case you don't know, look, Darrell had 1,605 walks. That's a lot of walks. You drew 90 or more walks in 8 separate seasons. Now, that's as a 3-hole hitter. So the reality is you're getting on base, and that's why you're in the 3-hole. You're hitting for power, and you're getting on base, setting the table for Hammer and Hank, for example, right behind you, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, that was the whole point, was when they put me there, and then I realized and went, you know what? And I was just talking to a friend of mine just a couple of days ago, and he's going, he hit fourth and behind Hank. I go, no, I hit third in front of Hank and led the league in walks. So there was a point where it's like, oh, okay, I get this. And, at first it was like, the pitchers always threw to you because they didn't want to face Hank. And I go, yeah, but that's when I had to learn how to be patient and not swing at pitches. Right. And because I had the best hitter of all time hitting behind me. So it kind of made sense, I went to school, I figured things out. Made sense to go, why would I make an out on swinging at a pitch that I can't hit good? And then the pitchers aren't going to, and then after a while it's like, oh man, are they going to challenge me? And that's part of your homework. That's part of your experience. You're facing different guys. You're facing different rotations, different pitchers, all the time and everything. But you know what I did kind of after a while is I hit off the catcher.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. We're going to come back with that in just a few minutes here on the Circus. Don't go anywhere. More with Darrell Evans back in a few. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello, Americans. It's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time. That's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, or recorded shows, which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Deezer, you name it, we're there. You can't get away from us. That includes everybody on the Mars rover as well. And listen, while you're at thesportscircus.com, go ahead and click the About section. Lots of great people that are involved with this show, and one of them is with us right here today. That's the great Darrell Evans. And folks, if you don't know about this guy, you better go read, because in fact, one time he was described by a baseball historian named Bill James, rated Darrell as, quote, the most underrated player in baseball history. That's right. He was the 22nd player in Major League Baseball to hit 400 home runs and the second to hit at least 100 home runs with 3 different teams. 1,605 walks, ranking him at that time 8th in the league in Major League Baseball. And let's face it, this guy did it in the hot corner where you could beat up and, yeah, boy, taking that ball off the chest, off the chin, off the hand, off the arm, off the leg. That is one of those things where as a pitcher, you don't want to face these guys. He or the catcher, third baseman or the catcher, because these are kind of the baseball team's tough guys. And you never want to face them because you could bust them inside and they'll still take you out over the wall. And even if you hit them, they'll just look at you like, yeah, what else you got? Not bad for a guy from Pasadena. What do you think, Darrell?
Well, that was a bunch of good stuff there. Well, that was great. I guess Pasadena growing up, too, I went to the same high school as Jackie Robinson. My parents and a lot of my family all played with him or played in the same teams and all that kind of stuff. So I grew up in a place that was, a hotbed of athletics, and you always had competition that you were playing, and that always drives you to get better and better. How do we do that? How do and all that kind of stuff. So I going in when I first started, I think I had an advantage over people because I already kind of gone through that, not in the major league level, but all the players that make it to the major leagues all have to go through that, wherever it is. The higher you go, the better you're facing. So you have to figure out what the heck am I doing? How am I going to get better? So it was never like, oh, well, I can't hit this guy. There was times when somebody I faced and it was like, oh, this guy's throwing a little bit harder, but it doesn't matter. I'm just going to get ready a little earlier.
Yeah, just dial it up a little bit, right?
Well, yeah, and it was, but I always had that. From a young age, I always had that patience. And I read Ted Williams' book about being patient, and, he had that in his book and stuff. And, he'd hit 400, 500 or whatever, certain parts of the strike zone. And then, he even had even down and away at perfect pitch, I still had 320. Well, I don't think that was true, but that was just something to look at to see how the best people did it. And it's all about getting a good pitch to hit, which is they all talk about after the game-winning hit. Everybody says, and I got a good pitch to hit, and I got a good swing. Yeah, that was the whole goal. So getting that refined enough to go, yeah, okay, so that was a strike, but you know what? It didn't look good to me. So what? You got to do it again. And you know, as a pitcher, and everybody knows as a pitcher, they can't throw the ball where they want to. If they could, probably wouldn't hit very good. But they can't. So it's all depending on, you know what? And the more maybe apprehensive they are, going, well, I can't throw that guy there because I've seen what he does with it. Just makes it harder for them to do it. And the good ones are like, okay, well, I got to do it. I'm going to try to do it. The other pitchers are like, oh man, I can't do that. So they tend to make more mistakes. And like I said, they can't throw the ball where they want to all the time anyway. So when we were talking before is what I hit off the catchers. And what I'm saying is that in the major leagues, you know, you're facing pretty much the same catcher every game. And so whatever they've tried to do to you the games before was successful or wasn't, you know whether it was my fault when they threw me a good pitch and I jammed myself or I didn't. You know, I know it was my fault, but they don't know that. So they're going to try to do that again. Thinking, and I, you know, sitting there watching them pitch against Aaron all the time and go, you probably shouldn't try that again because Hank felt like, man, I didn't make the adjustment, you know. So it's like, so I would, you know, Bob Boone and Gary Carter and Carlton Fisk and, you know, all these guys. I mean, everybody had a great catcher, of course, but and I say a great catcher because they're all great defensively. Every single one of them is a great defensive. You got to be a catcher in the big leagues, and some a little better than others probably. But it was all about who can hit better. Right. You know, like you said, it was the power guys. So them sitting behind me and try to tell the pitcher where to throw the ball because the catcher's been sitting there and watching, and they got all of the scouting reports and last time we faced him and all that kind of stuff and it's like, okay, let's throw him here and we can do it here, but then that in the back of our mind is they can't do it. They can't do it consistently. So I'm trying to feed off of their mistakes. So, you know, it's like Hank and Eddie, hey, they fell into your trap. And I was like, what does that mean? Well, they try to pitch you one way, and did you hit it good or you didn't hit it as well or whatever, or you hit a ball right at somebody. So was that a negative or a positive? No, they're going to try to do that again. So I tried to, and it took a while, you know, like I said, to get to know what they're going to do. And it's like, you know, sometimes you're just like, are you going to throw me inside again? You know?
Well, you know, Darrell, what I found is that my catchers, what they tried to do is they tried to work the hitter inside, outside. And there are certain guys, they couldn't get around on an inside pitch in the first place. The only thing they could do with it is they could pull it about 100 feet foul, or they'd pop it straight up in the air. That's basically all they could do. With certain guys would have that problem, right? They just didn't have the bat speed. But guys like you, I got to tell you, I mean, I remember as I'm coming up, I'm watching this guy play third base, and I'm like, man, if I ever get up to his level, if I ever play against him, I'm not going to give him this to pitch because I already know this guy is going to hit me 400 plus, and he's going to take me out to the opposite field just because he can.
Well, see, there you go. So you got to adjust to me. And that's what, as I got old, you know, the young player and all that kind of stuff, I kind of knew it, but then I got it reinforced by all these great players. I'm like, yeah, that's the way you're doing. Well, I'd been successful coming up too, but not as much as I was maybe in a major league, because I had the experience. You know, the more I got to see the pitcher, but whatever this guy had, you know, I mean, like Bruce Sutter, who threw, you know, nothing but forkballs or whatever, split fingers, and nobody else kind of did that, but he was a reliever, and you couldn't. You didn't get to face him very often, and then it's like, okay, I got to see it for a while, and then this is what his ball does.
Yeah,
and
eighth, ninth inning guy.
Key. You know, I watch these guys now, and they go back into the dugout, and they look on their computers and stuff. What are they looking for? They know if they swung at a bad pitch. They know if their timing was off. They know that are they trying to make an adjustment with their swing? Now, with that, you can't do that. It's impossible to do that. But to me, it was always like, I thought that ball was away a little bit too much, or I thought that was a ball. So those were all experiences that we put in our minds by experience, by going through it. Nobody else can be. You're the only one in the batter's box. Nobody else can analyze it, even if you put it on the computer and stuff. Why you didn't hit this because your swing went right. It had nothing to do with the swing. It had only to do with timing and anticipation. And so I got to the point of going, this guy's going to make a mistake. I don't care who he is. Steve Carlton, Bob Gibson, I look back and go, man, I got to face the best pitchers of all time.
I know, that's nuts.
And I got them all, some more than others. And they all remember that. So it was like, okay, you know what I'm going to do. You know what you got to do to do it. And now you got to execute. And then when I'm hot, it doesn't matter. When I'm feeling really good, I'm seeing the ball really good, which we don't get to do very often, not as much as we want to. But they don't know if I'm, is this going to come out? Yeah, he's in a slump a little bit and all that stuff. But it's like, yeah, but don't make a mistake. So it was so much fun to do that when things went good. Of course, when they're not going good, you're trying to figure it out. And the more experience I had, the easier it was to go away from, it's my swing, it's this, and no, it wasn't that. It was all about my timing and my confidence.
Yeah. Yep.
What? All the Hall of Famers and stuff, they were still apprehensive. I don't care. They don't. When I talked to those guys, they admitted. The other pitchers don't. Like, well, that's the reason why I got you.
Right. Well, Darrell, nobody wants to admit it. Nobody wants to admit it. We're gonna have you hold right there, Darrell, and we're gonna come back with you in just a few minutes here on the Sports Circus for the final segment. Going to get into a little bit of a longevity discussion as well with the great Darrell Evans. Folks, don't go anywhere. Lots more to come.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Brian. The great Brian Urlacher. Here we go. Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Welcome back to everybody listening in on all of our network affiliates, our independents from coast to coast, everybody watching us on TV, everybody streaming us on Pick Your Favorite streaming platform, Chicago food favorites as well, hotel television. And this segment is brought to you by no one in particular, but we will mention our favorite pizza place, my favorite pizza place in the Phoenix Valley. Why? Because Brian Urlacher is going to take me for pizza on my next trip over to the Phoenix Valley. Yes! And that's going to be to Salerno's Pizza over in Gilbert, Arizona. Folks, if you haven't had good pizza in Arizona, look no further. It is good Chicago pizza in the Phoenix Valley. And folks, in case you don't know, we think of the Chicago food favorites thing, which I mentioned. Well, it happens that the Salerno's Pizza, the original Salerno's Pizza, for all you that want to know a little pizza history, maybe you don't, maybe you do, but some of the best pizza on this planet was in a little town called Berwyn, Illinois, right next to Cicero, and which is right next to Chicago city limits. Well, it was Salerno's Pizza that put out one of the best products in the city, and then they expanded and so forth. They have one out on the Fox River for all you people watching, or listening, I should say, on Chicago food favorites. And the brothers that owned it, well, they split up and they own different pizza places, and one of the brothers opened one up over in Arizona, in Gilbert, Arizona. Got to tell you, folks, some of the best pizza of all time. And that's why I said, Brian goes, hey, we'll go play golf next time you're here. I'm like, you might be out there for about 7 hours. He goes, no. We're going to get some pizza instead, because you and I will not be on a golf course for 6 or 7 hours, if you know what I mean. I don't think so. Anyway, this plug for Salerno's Pizza is compliments of the great Brian Urlacher and myself and Darrell Evans, a kid from Pasadena that played 20 years in big league baseball. And by the way, when he was done, even served as a manager and coach in minor league baseball for 20 more years. Now, that's incredible. Of course, that deserves a nice round of applause. And back with us, of course, is the great Darrell Evans. Darrell, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Yeah, it's great to be able to tell people how you feel, and the journey was so great, and so many wonderful people, and so many people that helped me, and it was like trying to figure it out and going, okay, well, you did this, so I'm going to ask you a question. At first you're shy and all that kind of stuff, but after a while they all go, well, why didn't you ask me before? I was like, okay, well, because I was too shy and I was scared of you.
Well, what's interesting is that your whole life, for the most part, has been baseball, has it not?
Oh yeah, my mom played professional softball. Two of my aunts played professional softball way back, in the 50s and 60s, and 60s, and when it wasn't whatever professional softball or whatever like that. And then two of my uncles played professional baseball. My mom's dad pitched in Mexico for over 25 years. He was the best pitcher out of Mexico back at the time, and even the Mexican president wouldn't let him go. They paid him enough so he wouldn't have to go and make what the major leaguers and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, just about my growing up, it was like my mom played professional softball. Two of her sisters did, and a couple more of my aunts. So on that side, and my mom's dad, he pitched in Mexico for 25 years, and the president of Mexico paid him enough so he wouldn't go and be in the States or even in the major leagues. He pitched against the Babe and Lou Gehrig and all those kind of people back then when they were barnstorming and all that kind of stuff. So on that side, the other side, my dad's side, my dad was the most knowledgeable baseball person I ever knew. And when I was growing up, he wasn't a great hitter. His brother was, who played professional too, my uncle, professionally. But my dad wasn't a good enough hitter, but he knew everything about baseball. One of the things I was required to do growing up was I had to learn the rule book. I had to memorize the rule book. I had to know what was going on. So everybody was on this point of going, yeah, you love baseball and everything, but you better know about it. And so I was just, I guess, groomed to be a baseball player. And one of my friends goes, yeah, they were more proud of you being in the major leagues than being the president of the United States, of course. And they got to enjoy it. I got to take them around. They got to see all the ballparks. They'd go on trips with me and all those kind of things and enjoy what they loved doing too. So I didn't know I didn't know anything else, but I certainly knew baseball. And so, when you get quizzed every day when your dad comes home from work, who was one of the original working on the space program, sending things out into space. I remember him coming home and didn't realize how important my dad was in that part of the thing, which they've honored him for that and all that kind of stuff. So it was always forward looking. It was always like, you can get better. Do this, try this. And I was wide open to that. We were lucky enough in the house that I grew up in. We had the street light right in front of our house so we could play at night time, and everybody wanted to come over because my mom would come out and be a catcher for us. We were playing football, whatever. So they were all excited about that. So it was baseball, not just baseball, sports too. But and I grew up right there, right next to the Rose Bowl. And, right across the street from the Rose Bowl is called Brookside Park. It's now called Jackie Robinson Field. But I grew up there, and all the best players in Southern California would be playing down there. So I got an opportunity to see how good I was or what I had to do to get better and to compete with all those guys. So learning it over and over and constantly, and everybody being excited about it and expecting me to do that. And then, I was blessed enough to have enough talent to compete and at the highest level on, and I cherished that so much, and it made so many people happy that I got to do what I got to do.
Darrell, how did you stay healthy?
I don't. You know what?
I mean, come on, 20 years as a player, 20 years as a manager, but as a player, you worked on the disabled list. How the hell did you stay healthy? And these guys are constantly on the disabled list. How did you stay healthy?
Well, you know how I'd say one of the things I think probably you can go back. If you go hard at everything, if you don't take shortcuts, and if you don't back off or anything, you tend to not get hurt. And so, I look back and I could have sprained my ankle. I could have broken my ankle. I could have, I took pride in taking guys out at second base and all those kind of things. And like you said, to third base, when all those balls are coming off your chest and you got bruises and everything else and all that kind of stuff. Eddie Matthews, when I first came to in spring training, in '69, and he hit me balls. He'd get halfway between third and home plate and hit me bullets off my chest and whatever and all that kind of stuff with your arms. And he's gone, "Are you going to say anything?" And I went, "Well, no, I respect you enough. What am I going to say? Stop doing it." And he goes, "One of the things I think you should do is maybe you should learn how to catch them." Okay, now you got them down, you blocked them down, but how about why don't you try to catch them? It's stuff like that. It was like, really? And he goes, "You know what? That's okay. Girls like bruises anyway, so you'll be okay." So it was a fun thing to go, yeah, that's what it was, And Eddie Matthews was one of the most respected players of all time, and at the time, he was the captain on all the teams and all that kind of stuff. So I was just following along with his advice, and you had to go through stuff. You understand that, but then after a while, it didn't hurt so much. I had bad ribs, all kinds of stuff that happened. I could have sat out, and I did a couple of games once in a while, but there was never a time where I go, I can't go anymore.
No, you played through the pain. That's what you're supposed to do.
Well, of course, and then there's always that fear in the back. Well, if you don't play, then you get a reputation, and then it's like, okay, well, we can't wait to get rid of him. We'll put somebody else in there. So that was always in the back of everybody's mind, and it was just like, like you said, how did I do it? I don't know. I got to the point of knowing how to keep myself in really good shape in the wintertime, in between, and then you go into spring training and you're getting beat up and you got to go through all the pain and all that kind of stuff. And it's like the excitement of getting on a major league field for the opening day. There's nothing like that. That's what we all dreamt about. So it was like, hey, no matter what, I'm going to, if it hurts, I'm going to hide it.
There's a problem with load management in today's game. And in our last minute of the segment here, people talk about, we're going to give Joe Blow a day off. For what?
Well, that's become a permeating thing that never happened before. Up until, I don't know, the 90s, I guess. Nobody took days off, because if you did, your teammates are going, "What the hell's wrong with you?"
And somebody else is right behind you to take that spot.
Yeah, so it was like there wasn't any question going, "Oh man, I heard I can't play today." They're like, get your, Eddie, okay, we'll put somebody else in there, and you may not get back in there again. We all know the story of Wally Pipp and Lou Gehrig and stuff like that. Maybe, I don't know why.
Well, hell, that's what happened with Drew Bledsoe and Tom Brady, right?
Right, and it's like it's unfair because the person that knows whether they're really hurt, that's what we had to do, the pitchers especially, is my arm just sore or tired or anything, or am I hurt? And so you have to learn how to gauge that, but then you I always tended to be like, yeah, I'm hurt, but I can still go pretty good, and I can still get in the batter's box and be dangerous.
That's right, play through the pain. Play through the pain. That's it. And listen, Darrell, I got to tell you, man, a lot of guys in today's baseball world, football, basketball, hockey, hockey, they play through the pain. But I would say arguably baseball, they don't do it as much. Football, certainly not. Basketball, certainly not. But guess what? Here we are today, and we're going to wrap up today's show. And I appreciate you coming out of the circus. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show, Darrell.
Well, we're going to do it again.
Absolutely.
More for you.
I know you got a lot more content. And folks, that's the great Darrell Evans. We're going to be back here in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. And guess what? Lots of great coming up, lots of great guests coming up. And of course, Darrell's going to be back in a week or so. So make sure you check back often, because lots of good content right here on the Sports Circus. So for Darrell Evans, I'm your Ringmaster Sal, and we'll see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. So long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.